as large-scale mainstream scientists, I'm not really aware of that. It's mostly happening with smaller groups.
Right, and that's what it's become. Because I don't think it was like that, even as short as 50, 60 years ago, and for 100 years before that, it was not like that. There were actual scientists who would take these observations reported by people. I knew the moment that my loved one was passing away, even though I was 2,000 miles away. There's an observation, right? And they gathered them all up. They analyzed them. They sent out questionnaires. They did the statistics on these things.
So you're saying, Doug, that the people that are the critics or the aesthetics are not studying it scientifically? And
that's hypocritical. I don't think that they're doing it right now. They're not doing the scientific studies that they should be. If they were real skeptics, right? I mean, if they were really arguing this does not exist, right? Why couldn't they run some, come up with some proof? Yeah, exactly. Do it the other way around. And say, hey, I ran an experiment. Here's my experiment. It came out with nothing. They
don't feel that they need to, because in their mind, if you are the claimant, it's just the burden of proof is on you. So to them, absence of evidence is evidence of absence. That's how they see it. They don't need to do anything. They don't want to do anything. They're not trying to find out the truth. They just like to taunt you and say, oh, there's no proof. Oh, prove it to me. Prove it to me. That's what they do. They don't go out searching for it, actively at least.
Yeah, they'll come and attack people. I mean, they'll attack people like John Edward. I was talking about how a fellow in New Zealand or Australia or somewhere is suing John Edward because of his tour down there, where he's going down there and communicating with the spirits of deceased relatives of people who see the show. There's a fellow suing him saying that he's doing all cold readings. As a matter of fact, Victor Zamet might even be following that because he's in Australia, isn't he? Or New Zealand, so he might be following that particular news story. That hit the news last week.
What does the skeptics think about EVP? That's kind of a proof right there. What are they saying about that?
Yeah, have you heard any what are their arguments about have you ever heard of electronic voice phenomena?
Yeah, I've read some of it on Victor Zamet's website, which you should tell your audience. If they don't know, it's victorzamet.com, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Article is on there too, so you can give the link to it. It's www.victorzammit.com /skeptics/Winston.html. That's where my essay is now.
Right, and then the overall site is, of course, Victor's website, and he's the anti-skeptic.
Yeah, and Victor Zamet also has $1 million challenge to skeptics to try to for them to refute his arguments, which none of them have. And his website is very extensive, and it mostly deals with life after death and survival of consciousness, and there's quite a lot of good articles on there. So it's pretty extensive, and it's something you might want to take a look at sometime. And he's very passionate about what he does too, and he's a former lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's really good at arguing, and so he's really good at arguing.
Oh, definitely. And he's very passionate. And that's, by the way, how I found your article. And on his website, and I'm like, this is why I talk to Winston Wu. That's why we're here. Because you did such a good job on that.
So have you heard these EVPs?
Yeah, well, we call pseudo-skeptics. We call them pseudo-skeptics. It's not real skeptics. But the code line ones we call them pseudo-skeptics. What pseudo-skeptics say is that pseudo-skeptics is the voices on the EVP are really faint, they're kind of, they're not, they're just, just like words. They're kind of words you have to interpret. So it's just like the mind's way of interpreting
It really does have. I mean, you can look at wood green pattern.
Their explanations for pretty much all that type of phenomenon.
Right.
They don't really investigate it. And you'll even see that you'll even see that really investigating discrediting based on philosophy. You'll even see that with Carl Sagan, who wrote that skeptical book at the Paranormal, the Demon Haunted World.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of that or not.
I have.
Yeah, while he was still living, he wrote that, and in a chapter or two, on alien secrets. So the thing is, I get a 10 pages off, and then by 10 pages off on but the thing is, even investigating in one more and doing the things that but not to in investigating the phenomenon, because a lot of people who start out as skeptics end up becoming believers, but they end up becoming believers and thoroughly investigate their lives, they start to become believers. They can do that. They can do any research into philosophical arguments, and so that's basically what they do. And basically, what they, I just read about something. I even skeptics using the word ghost does not exist, or just does not exist, or unit does not exist. And these skeptics also claim that they never make claims about, but they never make claims about. And so the way that they contradict themselves without even realizing they claim that something doesn't exist, and claim they catch them on that, and when they deny them when they said it, and they show them the proof from what they show them the proof, and they say, yeah, because we're talking about something specifically.
Yeah, circumstances change then. In their government.
It seems pretty dishonest that they say words like ghost don't work, or the ghost don't exist, and then they'll say that they never said it, because they don't want to have it proven, because they don't want to have to prove it. And it's funny that they put ghosts in, and it's funny that they put ghosts in, because I mean, you don't have people everywhere, you don't have, all over the globe claiming that these people were claiming that they were experienced or no. But you do have that for ghosts. And so for ghosts, put them both in the same category. It's sort
of misleading.
Kind of, sneaky, and
it is. It's a pattern. It is very appropriate.
I was going to say that I haven't seen a unicorn, but it doesn't mean that they don't exist, because I haven't seen it. I mean, I'm open-minded, and one of
they could exist on other planets. They could exist on other planets, or if they don't know in this world.
Oh, there's the whole cryptozoology, topic. About they're finding critters now that they never knew existed. They're finding
and also 99% of the things that animals, on this planet are now extinct.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, that's true.
Something that looks like one knows that looks like one. Because that's not really the point. I mean, there are overwhelming unicorns, so it's for unicorns. So it's still a bit shady for them. Which those for the all paranormal in the same category as that, in the same category. They just do that out of,
It's more. It's like a diversion tactic of sorts. If they can lump it into something that even you don't think exists, then they're doing like a little equivalent thing. That's all logic. Because you study that in psychology. That's a psychological.
Like if you believe in ghosts, you might believe in unicorns.
Right, and the converse and the inverse and all these truth tables. So that's actually a little psychological trick there. They're sort of playing. I have a question. How did you get all of this together? I know some of it must have been combing the internet. But how did you run up against all these skeptics that used all these arguments that you were able to then write little paper about?
Most of them have been from news groups. Now,